Pesticides are defined by the Environmental Protection Agency as a substance or mixture of substances that is intended for preventing, destroying, or repelling pests. For more than 4,500 years, there have been many accounts of organic pesticide use throughout history. The earliest recorded use was with the Sumerians, who used sulfur compounds to control pests, while the Chinese are recorded to have used mercury and arsenical compounds. Texts from ancient Greece and Rome indicate that farmers used smoke in an effort to eradicate mildew and blight that plagued their crops. The use of inorganic pesticides began in the 1940s as new pesticides were developed from coal and other industrial byproducts. Manufacturing pesticides causes the release of these chemical compounds into surrounding areas. Roughly 1,600 active ingredients are used to make hundreds, even thousands of different types of pesticides. The process of creating a pesticide involves a manufacturing step as well as a formulation step. This allows for pesticides to be produced and used in various applications, such as sprays or powders. An accident occurred at the Union Carbide pesticide manufacturing plant on December 12, 1984 in Bhopal, India. This is known as the worst industrial accident, where at least 30 tons of a highly toxic gas, as well as other gases produced at the plant, were released into the environment. Roughly 600,000 locals in surrounding towns were exposed to this deadly gas cloud while asleep that night. The gas cloud remained close to the ground, where it burned the eyes and throats of those exposed to the gases. It also induced nausea and caused a large number of deaths. The death toll was roughly 15,000 people, and in the years following the accident, there has been an estimated additional 15,000 deaths. The women exposed to the gases gave birth to children who now have physical or mental disabilities. Pesticides can contaminate soil, enter bodies of water, or be taken up by plants and animals. Just as easily, it kills insects or weeds. Pesticides are also toxic to other organisms, including birds, fish, beneficial insects, and non-target plants. Insecticides are considered to be the most toxic pesticides, but herbicides can also pose risks to non-target organisms. The contamination of these chemicals is far-reaching and widespread. In a set of studies done by the U.S. Geological Survey in the mid-90s on major river basins across the country, it was found that 90% of the fish and water samples contained one or several pesticides. This doesn't account for groundwater contamination, which is a worldwide problem. The USGS reports that over 143 different pesticides from every major class has been found in groundwater across 43 states. When you think of healthy foods, most often do you think about fruits and vegetables? When you think of healthy foods, do you think about the pesticides that may have been used in the production of these so-called healthy foods? More than 45 different pesticides were found on apples, 40 on strawberries, 50 on grapes, 60 on celery, 60 on peaches, 50 on spinach, 86 on cucumbers, and 50 on lettuce. All these foods that are considered to be healthy for humans contain more pesticides than people think. The EPA stated that they regulate every new pesticide to ensure its safety before it is able to be used and sold. So what exactly is the government doing to regulate the use of pesticides? Every 15 years, the EPA reevaluates the safety of pesticides while looking at new data and scientific studies. The EPA sets a maximum legal residue limit, or a tolerance, for the foods treated with pesticides. This reduces the amount of pesticides used on foods that are harmful to humans. Pesticides have been linked to many different health hazards, both short-term and chronic. Children are extremely susceptible to hazards that come from pesticide use. A study was conducted at the Public Health Institute, the California Department of Health Services, and the UC Berkeley School of Public Health, where they discovered an increased risk for autism spectrum disorder in children whose mothers were exposed to a specific kind of pesticides. Exposure before the age of 12 can be detrimental to development of the central nervous system. This is also because their immune system isn't fully developed, meaning they aren't allowed to fight off the toxins in their body from the pesticides. Children are known for playing outside, rolling in the grass, and putting objects in their mouths, increasing the risk of pesticide exposure. Many cancers can be linked to exposure to pesticides. Researchers conducted a study and found that children who live in a home where they're exposed to pesticides are 2 times as likely to develop brain cancer as opposed to those who live in a home where pesticides are not used. Pesticide exposure is also linked with endocrine system disruption. Disruption to the endocrine system leads to infertility and a number of different birth defects. Pesticides are also linked to respiratory illnesses, including asthma, along with neurological disorders, including Parkinson's, Lou Gehrig's disease, and learning disabilities. Farm workers who are exposed to pesticides in multiple different ways, whether it be through their skin, during mixture or application, during planting, weeding, pruning, or harvesting crops. Many farmers in other countries working closely with these pesticides have not been exposed to the health risks associated. In hindsight, pesticides have made global food production easier and cheaper, but at what cost? They are employed to keep up with the demand of a worldwide population that is nearing 8 billion, and yet there are still those that go to bed hungry. Humans are exposed to these chemicals before they are even born, resulting in serious illnesses that can affect their everyday lives. We cannot escape from pesticides. They are in the air we breathe, the water we drink, and the food we eat.